Parveen and welcome to my recipe for pilau rice. Now this is a really important recipe and I thought I'd do a video tutorial for you to show you exactly how to make pilau rice. I'm not talking about the rice that they have in restaurants with a bit of colour or the boil in the bag stuff, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but we are making authentic pilau rice with a vegetable stock. So it's as tasty as a paella and as filling as a risotto. So let's go through the ingredients. Quite a lot of ingredients here to make a rice, but it's well worth the effort, I promise you. So we have here 500 grams of really good quality basmati rice, and I do really insist that you use the basmati. You'll find it makes all the difference. It's really important how we soak and how we wash that rice. The process is vital to the recipe. Okay, so here I've got 500 grams of really good quality basmati rice, and what I'm going to do is wash out the starch. This is a really important part of the process, and don't use a sieve, don't be tempted to use a sieve. I'd like you to use a bowl, because what you can do is you can see the starch coming out. So be very gentle with the rice. Handle it with TLC. Okay, if I just switch that tap off there and just give it a stir, can you see as I'm washing the rice, can you see all that starch coming away? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain that away. So that's like it's almost like a milky liquid. Can you see? Drain that away. See it coming out from the rice, can't you? Again, and what that does is that tends to, the starch is what makes the rice stick. So if you've made a rice, follow the recipe thinking, oh my goodness, it is sticking together like a sticky rice. That's usually the culprit, is the starch. So the aim of the game here is to wash out the starch. So that's like the second wash. I probably will do this about 6 times. Just depends on the rice and the make of the rice, really. Again. Okay, so I'm doing quick succession a few more times. My mother would probably wash it about 8 times. And I know Delia Smith advocates not washing the rice. So it's personal preference. But what I'm saying is for my recipes to work, the best thing to do is wash out the starch. Okay, so that's 3 times. You see it's getting clearer again. Can you see it's getting clearer? Give it another stir. Be very gentle with it because I don't want to break the grains. Okay, wash it out again. That was about 4. I think one more time and then we're going to soak it. Okay. We can see already the liquid is getting clearer and clearer. Oh, we're nearly there. That's it, last time. You see it's clearer water? And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to soak the rice in ready for the cooking process. So if I leave that there, you can see that that's running clear now. You can see the rice through the water. And that's it, just wash out the starch. So the rice has been soaking for about an hour already, and that's what I want. I want it to soak and it's going to be porous now, ready to ingest all that lovely stock that we're going to make in a moment. So let's go through the rest of the ingredients. So here I have 2 potatoes sliced and diced already. Then it's a pea and plate potato rice. So you've got there, we have frozen garden peas. If you can get fresh, buy fresh. They taste amazing, but frozen is quite acceptable. Then we have some salt for seasoning, and be warned, quite a lot of salt goes into this recipe, but it's going to serve between 6 to 8 or 400 people. And then the spices are the garam masala, which is a combination of 8 different spices, and it just smells amazing. It's going to really flavour that stock, and that is the main key spice in the pilau rice. I've also got some cumin, which I've roasted and ground, and that again is going to flavour the stock and just taste fantastic. And then you got 2 green chilies. I've put them in big chunks because I want to take them out later. If you don't want to bother with roasting and grinding and going through the process, then that's okay, because I do have my little spice bags from Parveen, the Spice Green Spice range, and just buy the bag, add the bag, follow through the recipe. Not a problem. Got some oil here to fry the onions, and that's it. It seems to quite a lot of ingredients for rice, but it's well worth the effort. Let's get on with the recipe now. Okay, nice big pot. Okay, pasta pot. It's a stock pot. I went shopping actually recently, and I asked for a pasta pot. It's not pasta. It's a stock pot apparently. So different words. But what you need is one with a lot of height and width, because the rice is going to expand as it cooks. In goes the oil. And what we're going to do is fry off the onions. That is the key part of this rice. Like I said earlier, it's as good as a paella and as tasty as a risotto. And when I've cooked dinner parties, my clients love it. And they always comment on how tasty the rice is. I tell you what, it's so tasty, you can have it just with a raita and a salad, and it's a meal in itself. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fry those off into a lovely golden brown. But actually, they're not going to be quite a charred golden brown. They're going to caramelize the onions quite a lot, because the colour and the flavour of the rice actually comes from the browning of the onions. So we're going to come back to our pot in a few minutes to see how brown our onions have got. In the meantime, I'm going to have a cup of tea, and I'll see you in a few moments. Okay, so the onions have been frying now for a few minutes now, nearly 10 minutes on low, and then I've turned it up. But although this gas is really strong, it's really high. And if you can see, they're really, really brown. Okay, but that's fine, because that's what we want. We want the charred look, almost like an onion soup. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is add a splash of water. Turn the gas right down to simmer, and watch out for the splash. And what we're going to do is going to create a lovely onion stock. Okay, let me stand back, and then I'll burn my lashes. Ready? Okay, that smells divine. And that's just frying onions, and it smells so good. Give that a couple of seconds, and I'm going to take it off, and you'll see that it'll just turn into this lovely, lovely onion soup like consistency. Ready? There we go. Be careful of that hot water. There. Quite dangerous for this, actually. They actually get danger money for cooking. There you go. Can you see what's happened now? That just smells of fried onions. This is the basis of fried onion soup. So let me lift that up and show you. That juice there, that lovely brown juice, just comes from the burning of the onions. I'll just do it again, show you. That lovely juice just comes from the frying of the onions. And the rice, when you cook the rice, it'll be a lovely brown colour. Okay, let's carry on with the recipe. What I'm going to do now is turn that up high, because the onions are now fried, and that's the basis for our stock. In goes the green chilies. Chuck them in, straight in. In go the tomatoes, all of them. And that's going to thicken up the stock. You might think that's a lot of tomatoes for rice, but just keep watching. 2 heaped teaspoons of garam masala. And like I said, if you don't want to buy your own garam masala, you can just buy my little spice bags, and the recipe works perfectly. In fact, that's what I designed them for. Each recipe has a perfect little spice bag. Some cumin for more flavour, and salt. Now, be warned, there is quite a lot of salt, but this is going to about 2 teaspoons of salt. But this is going to feed about 8 people, 8 to 10 actually. And so if you pour that down, you're looking at less than a fifth of a teaspoon of salt. So on the surface of it, you may think, oh my God, you just put loads of salt in. Not really, not when you have portion by portion. Just going to turn that up. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to create a stock. So if I just show you, so the tomatoes are raw, the onions are still raw, and you just see everything. But what I want the onions to break down, I want the tomatoes to break down, I want the spices to start frying, and that's the basis for our stock. So we'll come back to this in a few minutes. Okay, so the onions should have broken down by now. I don't know why I say should, they have broken down. So if we look in here, what I can see is the tomatoes. It's like a really thick, it looks like chocolate actually, deep, rich brown sauce. And that's what I want. So I just show you that you can see the onions and the tomatoes, and they're just about broken down, and the green chilli, and I'm just about ready to add the potatoes and the peas. Okay, so if they haven't broken down, and what you can do is, because there's a stubborn little tomato there, just give it a bash with the back of your spoon, and that should do it. Okay, so what's happened is, similar to making a chicken masala, lambuna, can you see how it's reduced down? The water's reduced and the oil's come to the top, and we are now frying off the spices. Remember what I said about frying off the spices and buno? If you buno something, it means you're frying off, stir frying on high heat, and it gives it that real depth of flavour. Okay, so if I'm going to taste this for you, make sure I'm on the right track. Hot, be careful. Oh, okay. That's quite salty and that's quite spicy, but that's okay. What we have here is 4 times the potency. So pay attention, because I've been asking questions later. 4 times the potency of the rice. When I add the water, we're going to have half the potency of the flavour we need. And when the rice absorbs all that stock, we have the flavour just right. So at the moment, it's a really strong stock, but that's fine. Okay, in go the potatoes. Somebody said, do you boil the potatoes? I said, no, no pre-boiling, no pre-cooking. If you really want to pre-boil, you can. If you really want to pre-cook, you can, but I think you lose the flavour. Okay, in go the peas. So this is the kind of dish I would cook if I had nothing in the house. I've always got some frozen peas lying around the freezer and some potatoes in the pantry. Just throw it together and then I'll just have it with a plain raita while I'm watching X Factor or something. It's my comfort food. Okay, right. Have a look at that. What's happened is now all the potatoes and the peas are covered in that lovely sauce. Now I'm going to add the water to make the stock. Need to cook that for about 2 minutes, but I'm going to speed up the process for you, so just get on with the recipe. Okay, now measuring stock, measuring water and rice. There's many different methods. There's absorption, there's evaporation. Is it 1 to 1? Is it 2 to 1 or 1.5 times to 1? Well, I've soaked the rice for about an hour. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1.5 times what I've got of rice to water. So the quickest way to do it is I actually use 2 mugs of my, pretty aren't they, my Denby mugs. I use 2 mugs of rice, which is 500 grams. I'm not really much for grams and millilitres and inches. I like mugs and spoons. I think it makes things so simple. So we've got 2 mugs of rice. So double that would be 3 mugs of water. I'm not a mathematician. So 3 mugs of water. So I think I need some more water in that. I'm just going to get some more water in a minute. That's 1. Turn that up. That's 2. And that's 3. Now the recipe says 750 mils of water, but like I said, I'm not one for measuring. I do like things really simple. Although I cook for a living, I don't want to stress about millilitres and grams and things like that. So that was just 750 mil, but to me it was 3 mugs of water. The same mug that you measured the rice with. So it doesn't really matter what size mug, just use the same mug. So it's 1 mug of rice, 1.5 mugs of water. But to keep it simple, just follow the recipe, it works. Okay, now in my recipe it does actually say that you can add butter, and sometimes I do add butter, but you know what, I've really overindulged over the summer, so I'm not going to add the butter this instance. Entirely up to you if you want to add butter. But what I will do is I will taste the stock now. Okay, just have a little sip. Oh, do you know, that's lovely. I could have that just as a soup, it's lovely. So if we look in the pot now, we've got the peas floating around the top. We've got the potatoes are going to be boiling. The potatoes will cook in the rice. I'm going to turn that on high. I'm going to wait for the stock to boil and give it 2 minutes for the stock to boil. And you know how in many cultures you have rice or potatoes? Well, we've got rice and potatoes. It's a win-win situation. I'm going to wait for that to boil, and then I'm going to add the rice. There's the rice. I'm just going to go drain the rice and I'll be back to add it just in a minute. So the stock has been boiling for about 5 minutes now, and I'm really happy with that. And I had another little taste, and actually it's really quite salty and quite sharp, and it hits the back of your throat, which is fine because when the rice goes in, it's going to absorb all that flavour and you get really, really delicate tasting rice. Okay, so in goes the rice. Okay, and now you wouldn't think that's going to be a whole pot of rice at the end. So we'll have a big reveal at the end. In goes the rice, and what will happen, you'll notice straight away, the stock's going to cool down because the rice is cold. In it goes. Okay. Now then, my mum was a massive advocate of not messing with the rice, treat it gently, lots of TLC. So she said, stir it once and leave it. And I'm like, really, Mum? Just stir it. So literally, let's do it twice. Let's not tell her. So stir it once or twice, be very gentle with it, and that is it. I do not want to disturb the rice any more than that. Okay, so that's cooled down the stock immediately, look. We're going to wait for that to come back to the boil. Then we're going to turn the temperature right down to the lowest possible simmer, cover the rice and leave it. And I'm going to come back in 30 to 40 minutes and we'll see how the rice is doing. Okay, well that's simmering lovely, it's bubbling very nicely. I'm going to cover it with the lid, turn it down to the lowest possible simmer and let it do its thing. Time to put my feet up and have a cuppa. I'll see you in half an hour. Time for the big reveal. I think the rice is ready. Show you a peek. Okay, in it goes. Wow, look at that. Well, now the peas are floated to the top. You can see bits of the tomato, but I'm going to give it a stir to see if it's cooked underneath. Look at that. Wow. Got fluffy, fluffy grains around. And look how much rice I've actually got. Oh, it smells divine. I just love rice. Look at the colour, and that colour came from the way we caramelise those onions, if you remember earlier. Okay, so let's plate up. I want to show you how much rice we actually have. Quite a lot. I would say there's more than 6 portions here. So that's my wok there. So in it goes. Can you see you've got separate grains of rice, long fluffy grains, separate quite easily. So that's 2 portions. Or if you're my husband, that's one. Some more. You can just see how much rice we've created. Okay, being a bit messy here, excuse me, and carry on. So that was what, 4 portions? Were you counting? I think that was about 3 or 4. Oh, escapee. I'd say that's about 5 portions. So you can see the potatoes, you can see the peas, and the tomatoes have broken down. Just be careful when you are serving it to make sure you take out the green chilies. I should have done it earlier. Oh, there's one, you see. So they've cooked and they've flavoured the stock, and that was their job. So we don't need them anymore. So you can go away. Okay, so that, I would say that's what, 6 portions. But oftentimes people have it as a side dish, but I'm going to have mine as a main. So look how much rice we've got left. If I just show you the pot, still oodles of rice left. And that, I would say that's 6 generous portions of rice. Steaming, lovely and fluffy. Okay, only one thing left for me to do now is eat. Okay, so I would just plate up. I made a lambuna earlier. I should have saved my lambuna for the rice, but this rice is so flavoursome, you don't actually need anything apart from maybe raita. So there's the potato. Remember earlier I was saying, oops, let's put those back on the plate. Have my raita, cucumber raita. Being really messy today. Okay, here we are. Look, can I show you about the potatoes? Look, the potatoes have cooked through. And the potatoes, actually, believe it or not, the potatoes will taste of rice. So excuse me while I go in. Just carry on amongst yourselves. I'm lost for words. That's very rare for me. I am Parveen, the Spice Queen, and I'll see you later. Happy cooking.